going to be talking about, Sean?
We're going to ask Cubby some questions.
What are the questions?
Well, first question is, I'd say, how did you become a pastor? That's what we want to start off. Well, where did you start off at? Give us the beginning of when you first thought you'd be a pastor, or maybe some other things you thought about before that.
Okay. First of all, thank you guys for having me on here.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So I grew up in the church. My dad is pastor, and he became pastor when I was 6. And so I was always in the church. And I think it started when I was about 14 or 15. The piano player, her name was Dolores. She was a sweet old lady who played piano for as long as I can remember. And she passed away, and they didn't have anyone to play music anymore. And I had aspirations to be in a punk rock band.
That is awesome.
So I had an electric guitar, but we needed to worship. So somehow it was decided that I would play the guitar, even though I was not good at all. I didn't know what I was doing. I played guitar, and I learned from there. Started playing guitar in church and leading worship. Started out where I was just playing guitar. Eventually learned how to sing and lead. And I did that all through high school. And when I decided to go off to college, in the back of my mind...
Where'd you go to college at?
I went to Northwestern. Okay. It's now Northwestern University.
Okay.
And I wanted to get a degree that I could get a regular job in, but I thought if I go to seminary, I at least need a 4-year degree first. So went to college, decided to do English education to be a teacher. So I did that, and all through college, I came home every other weekend to lead worship at Crosspoint. So that kind of started first it started out with, well, we want you to come back, so we'll pay you gas money to come home. And so that's kind of where it started, and I just slowly took on more and more at the church. And after I finished college, I taught in the Maple Grove Junior High as a long-term sub for a semester, and that was a really cool experience, but I really did not know at all what I was doing. And I learned a lot. But one of the things that I did learn too was that I don't want to be a teacher in public school.
Yeah.
It was difficult because I wanted to talk about God, but I knew that wasn't the right place to do it. The school's goal was written on the wall, and it was something along the lines of help every kid reach their fullest potential. And I thought, well, that's great. But at the same time, like, what if they want to be a terrorist? I mean,
yeah.
So
who defines what full potential is?
Exactly. So I thought there's something missing in the goal of this school, something really important in this, that they need to know God, they need to be taught the ways of God, they need to be taught the Bible. And I thought I could teach at the church to people who want to hear about God, or I could teach at the school to kids who don't want to learn anything. So I said, you know what? And it was always in the back of my mind, maybe I'll go to seminary, but that solidified it. I said, I want to go to seminary. And I remember going to the elders of the church.
How long did you teach for then?
I taught about from January to spring,
okay.
for 4 or 5 months at the school.
So one school semester.
Yeah.
School year.
Yeah.
So your schooling career lasted about 2 years, is what you're saying, kind of, I guess, about?
Teaching in the school, it was about 6 months or less.
Well, I meant the Christian school and then the public school as well, in total? About 2 years?
When I taught at the public school, that was the year 2010, 2011.
Oh,
so that was a long time ago. Many moons.
Yeah.
And then I taught at the Christian school 2 years, last year and the year before that.
Oh, okay.
So that was more recent.
Oh, okay.
So I guess I've always had a connection to education, because in the last probably 6 or so years I've been teaching at the public schools as a substitute teacher, just kind of on the side for for a little extra income and for fun. It's really enjoyable actually getting to hang out with kids and stuff like that. So, and you get some opportunities to talk about God with them. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So you're saying though you went to the elders?
Yes,
Yep.
yes. I went to the elders and I said,
there a little.
"That's all right." And I said, "I think I want to go to seminary." And I remember Scott LaRoe, elder at a church, he said, "You should do it." Like I just remember him saying, "Yes, it's gonna work out. You got to do it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right." So
Do it.
yeah, so I went to seminary at Southern Seminary, and I worked. I worked part-time at the church. I worked part-time at the movie theater, and eventually part-time at a coffee shop called the Corner Cup, which was owned by the movie theater.
Oh, okay.
So I worked part-time there and part-time at the church, and I was going to seminary. And about 2014, I was a ways into my degree, and the church brought me on, I think, full-time in 2014.
Oh, nice.
So
Expanding and needing more of your time.
yes,
To
became
cover the
full-time
needs.
associate pastor, worship pastor. What I'm doing now, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so then I went through seminary, and that I did slowly. So I crammed a 4-year degree into 8 years.
Crammed it full. That was to the brim full.
Yes, yes. And now I'm just at the church, and I'm loving it at the church, and I'm doing part-time at the school, 1 to 2 days a week, 7.
Okay, nice.
So, and it's just purely because I enjoy it, and it works really good. I actually get a lot of work done at the school when I'm 7.
A lot more downtime.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You got a desk, and you can work on stuff. So
So when you went to seminary
yeah,
over the 8 years,
Yep.
what were some of the things? Is there some highlights of that stuck out to you in which going into seminary, especially at that age,
yeah,
I imagine you believed you knew a lot.
yeah.
Was there some things that opened your eyes through seminary?
I'd say one of the biggest things that was new to me was learning the grand story of the Bible, where it's not just a bunch of story. You know, you learn stories in Sunday school class. You know, you hear about Jonah and you hear about David and Moses and Noah, and they're all kind of like these floating stories, and you don't know really what they're about. Like they're just, you know the story.
They're just there.
They're
There's
just
no
there.
interconnectedness.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and seminary really brought the whole story together for me, and how it's all really a story about Christ, and it culminates in the cross. And so I took a few classes on that, and that was probably one of the biggest eye openers for me, just having a better understanding of the whole Bible. And my favorite class, though, probably was it was New Testament 1 with Jonathan Pennington, and it was going through the 4 Gospels.
Oh, nice.
And just his passion for it, and just learning how to read stories in the Bible and interpret them correctly was really cool, and just getting more of a biblical theology, and that would be called biblical theology versus systematic theology. I think I learned a lot of systematic theology at college because I got a Bible minor, and I learned a lot from my dad. But at the same time, I was learning a lot too when I went to seminary that I didn't know before, but it was that biblical theology gave me a really much better understanding of the Bible. So
what would you define the difference of systematic theology versus biblical theology? What's the difference?
yeah, so systematic theology would be kind of taking every Bible passage about a single subject and saying, what does the whole Bible say about this? So, for example, justification. You study all the passages in the Bible on justification. What is the whole thing? And then you put it all together and you analyze it and synthesize it into a definition. And that's systematic theology. Whereas biblical theology is kind of saying, what an example would be, how does Matthew teach justification? The book of Matthew. And obviously it's going to have overlap and it's going to be the same definition at the end of the day, but he's going to have his own perspective on it. His own, he's going to have his own take, his own angle to come at it from.
So it'd be looking more at the authorial intent of
Yeah.
a specific author
Yes.
versus the whole, because the author of the whole Bible is the Holy Spirit.
Yep.
But then there's the human aspect of each book. So looking
Yes.
more at the human aspect
Yes.
of an individual book
Yep.
would be kind of what you're going after?
Yep. Or you could say a biblical theology of Paul's understanding of justification.
Oh, okay.
You know, or Peter, or you could say of the New Testament, or justification in the Old Testament, or the whole thing, and looking more at the storyline of it versus more of a system. If you think of the difference between them, it'd be like systematic theology is an outline, and biblical theology is paragraphs. It's
Oh, okay.
a story.
Oh, okay. Yep, I see. Yep, that makes sense.
So, yeah, that was cool to learn that distinction. There's a lot of overlap.
Get phone calls in the middle of the Kyle. I'll just shut that
He's
up.
good at
He's busy.
He's good at interrupting.
He's popular.
You know?
We're just getting all sorts of noises going. All right, we're back to business now. We're good. Did you have another question, Sean?
Yeah. Well, thanks for answering.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then one other question. So you mentioned your father's a pastor,
Yep.
and since you said about 6, did you say?
Yeah.
So, was there how did you end up not being one of the statistical pastor kids?
Yeah, that like
You
goes
know.
off the deep end.
Yeah, that you hear that a lot, especially since a lot of times people become pastors older in life, and their family gets raised one way, and then the dad changes, and I've heard that story before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how'd you
avoid that?
how did that go down? Because it'd be how your dad avoided that per se.
Yes.
Or-
Yeah. Well, I think about it, the primary reason truly is that the Lord really got a hold of my heart when I was about 15 years old at Camp Gym. I went to camp and heard the gospel and got saved. It was genuine heart change. God just changed my life. My life is truly, it was like an awakening point, and my life's never been the same since then. So that was the Lord working in me. But I never was really a rebellious kid, but I was at that time before I got saved kind of in this crossroads of wanting to be cool. Like I said, I was wanted to be a punk rock band, you know, skateboarder, and I had friends at that time who were smoking marijuana, and I remember hearing about that. Like, I don't know if that's a good idea, but then I wanted to try like partying and all this stuff, and I was like going in that direction. But then God just got a hold of my heart, and everything changed, and I literally overnight, it seemed, got all new friends who were Christians. I went to a new youth group called Rock in Cambridge and met all these cool kids, and just dove right into church and my friends from youth group, and it was just a total change. God worked in my life. But I'd say, you know, one of the things I think, though, thinking about my parents, I never felt a pressure from them to be a certain way. They just let me be me. And one good example, like they just let us be kids. One example is the parsonage at the old church had a window from my sister's bedroom, and you could go out the window right onto the roof of the garage. We loved going on the roof. And we'd jump off the roof, we'd sit up. We wanted to sleep on the roof, throw things off the roof. It was just a lot of fun. And we brought a stool out onto the roof. We climbed up onto the other roof. And we threw things off the higher roof. And
Wow.
we left the stool out there, and one of the trustees is an older guy. He's passed away now. I remember him coming to me. He said, "You need to get that stool off the roof." Like, he was just a little upset, you know. And I can understand. But my parents if my parents would have been really strict with us or worried about what people at the church thought about the kids and about how our family is and how we look, I'm sure they would have been like, take that off there. We can't look crazy to the people at church. But they never worried about that, and I never felt this pressure to be a certain way. And so I never felt this need to rebel against my parents' authority, because they seemed to trust us a lot and let us just be who we were. And they loved us, and they taught us, God's word, and we learned. And honestly, without God, hold my heart, I don't know where I'd have been, because they were very relaxed in their parenting. But I was never like a really difficult kid, though. I think I was pretty amiable for my parents. So that was, I think that was partly personality, partly my parents. Very, I didn't feel pressured. I didn't feel restricted or need to rebel. And then, mainly, though, God got a hold of my heart. So, yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. So, I don't know. God had a plan.
That's nice.
Yep.
Well, those were my questions. Did you have anything else, or?
No, I think that's really good. That was a good kind of simple outline and format, and walking us through your journey to pastorship and how you kind of avoided the perennial pastor's child. So
yeah. People would say, "Oh, you're a pastor's kid," and I'd be like, "Yeah." I didn't know like the I didn't even realize that was a thing until I was older.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, I'm a pastor's kid. That's cool."
That kind of just went right over your head, and you're like, pastor's kid, that's a thing?
Yeah. And I think too, when I was younger, I was one of those kids, I didn't know what was going on. I was in my own world, on my own thing, so.
Yeah. So.
Nice.
Well, I think that's all for this episode then.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks, Cubby, for being
thank
with
you
us
very much,
today.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming up with those questions, Sean. They were absolutely beautiful.
Cool.
Thanks for hosting us.
Of course.
Giving us a nice.
It is a
area.
change of scenery. This is the first
Yeah.
YouTubed episode from the Die Bloom residence.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we did. I think we maybe did one at the very beginning.
but that was all audio.
All
only.
on the audio.
This is
Yeah.
video
And
now.
thanks for all the other noises and stuff too.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Gives some real life to it.
Yeah, this is the real deal right here.
All right.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. So, we'll catch you later.
All right. Take it easy.